LeBron James all the way in.
And here comes Simmons the other way, 3-on-2. Simmons eludes the defender and lays it in with that. Certainly the length altered that shot. Out of the quick steps.
All right, Bernie. Let's break down that Cavs Celtics game. The Paul Pierce jersey retirement game is what I'll refer to it as. Also, the new Cavaliers mid-season game.
Yeah.
What'd you think of the game, first of all? What'd you think was going to happen in that game?
I thought it was going to be a very competitive game up until the fourth quarter. I did think that the Celtics would not blow by, but sneak by the Cavaliers maybe by 1 or 2 points. But it just kind of goes to show you the limitations of the Celtics right now without Gordon Hayward and what I talked about at the beginning of the season, which was a oven process and not a microwave process. I think a lot of people just want them to be a microwave process just for the sake of it. But I think the Celtics are who we thought they were, to quote the great Dennis Green. It's just
That's a good one.
We all know that their offensive limitations just comes down to Kyrie making shots. If Kyrie doesn't make your shots, then it doesn't go in. And especially when you got young guys like Jaylen Brown and Tatum, especially Brown, who I think had a really bad game yesterday.
Yeah.
It just kind of goes to show you that the Celtics are not the best team in the East. And I've said that at the beginning, even though the Cavs are going through their problems. I do like the team, and I enjoy what I'm seeing. But at the same time, it's not really hope of we need to make trades and fast if we're trying to kind of, what I feel like we're trying to do is outweigh LeBron until he decides he's either too old or he goes over to the West.
Or his team is terrible around him, which was the hope for a few weeks there. A couple things about that game from my perspective. I think, like you said, that's what the Celtics are. The team we saw yesterday, they have problems.
Yeah.
You know, and just because the Cleveland Cavaliers looked so bad for a month there, people forgot the problems that the Celtics have. Because they weren't losing nearly as often as Cleveland was. But Boston does have some big problems. Scoring is a big problem for that team.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, if Kyrie is not scoring, they're having a big issue that game. You know? Because you can't necessarily rely on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum to come through in the clutch because they are a sophomore and a rookie. I mean, they need help offensively, which is one of the reasons I was upset they didn't make the Tyreek Evans trade because he would have been great for the team. But I see why they didn't too, you know, because they just didn't want to give that value. But that's kind of besides the point. Also, I kind of thought Cleveland was going to be worse that first game.
Okay.
I didn't think they were going to be that good the first game.
Mm-hmm.
But it just goes to show how simple Cleveland's offense is.
Yeah.
Like, it's simple. Like, really simple. So, the 4 new guys didn't have to learn much to play in that team. Like, imagine if that was a team with, like, Brad Stevens as a coach. Yeah, it would be terrible.
It'd be really bad.
Because they have no idea what they're doing. It's a completely different system to any in the NBA. So, to just go to a team where all you do is pick and pops, pick and rolls, and just shoot the ball when LeBron James passes it to you, it's pretty simple, you know? But you could see the dramatic difference in defensive ability between the last 2 games that Cleveland played.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even like they played a great defensive game because Kyrie wasn't hitting shots really, and Jaylen Brown had a bad game, like you said, and I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But even a game like that, right? If that was the team that we saw a week ago against Boston, Boston would have put up 110.
Yeah.
It's just a fact. That's how bad they were on defense. So for your first game to hold the Boston Celtics, who already have an issue scoring, mind you, but they still held them under 100 points. That's monumental for Cleveland this season. I was really impressed with that. And I also I like the way that they played their new players. Like, they did the right things. Mm-hmm. And I didn't necessarily think they were going to bring Rodney Hood off the bench, but they did, and I like that just because it's a good fit for him to start coming off the bench.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the game was very interesting. I think that the fact that Cleveland played so well is very good for them. It's a good sign for the rest of the season. But it's also a bad sign for Boston that they didn't perform in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they should have come out and smashed him. Just because it's like, you're a whole new team. You had to rebuild your team at the deadline. We didn't have to do anything. And we're younger than you guys. And I'm Kyrie Irving, and I'm not on your team. You know?
Mm-hmm.
It should have been like the mocking of LeBron James game. Like, you need to get all these new players to perform, and I left you to come to this better team with a better coach. And it just wasn't that. So, good job, Cleveland. But I don't think it doesn't change a lot for Boston.
Yeah.
They're just shorthanded. So, any game that Kyrie is hot, they could win against Cleveland. Yeah. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think this also goes to show you that this kind of rejuvenates some of the other guys as well. I mean, if we look at just J.R. Smith himself, he had 15 points yesterday.
Yeah.
Which is a lot more points than he had before. There was trouble with him. He looked a little bit slow, lethargic, a little bit chunky, in my opinion.
For JR, yeah.
For JR. And it just kind of rejuvenated him. I think they're like, I saw a stat where they're like 8-2 when J.R. Smith scores more than 10 points. Now they're 9-2. So it just kind of goes to show you that when you have new guys that are more buying into the system that LeBron wants to create, and Tyronn Lue. I mean, we saw Tyronn Lue. I saw on the TV timeout, or when they were in a huddle, I saw Tyronn Lue coaching the young guys like where to go here and there. I mean, if you had Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, and all them, they probably wouldn't even listen.
Probably not.
They'd probably be all the way out, already ready to play defense, or so we say, defense.
They didn't buy in to Tyronn Lue as their coach from the get-go, which is what we talked about earlier. And that can't be the case.
Yeah.
You know? And I was happy for a few reasons with that game for Cleveland. First of all, LeBron actually looked happy to play basketball.
They actually played defense.
For the first time in 2 months, I saw LeBron, and he looked happy to be on the court, which is a great thing for Cleveland because when LeBron's happy and into it, things happen like what happened yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, the team itself, they looked like they were happy to be there. Yeah. I was actually kind of worried for the new guys, other than Larry Nance, because he made it very clear that he was happy right after the trade happened.
Yeah.
But I was kind of worried for a guy like Rodney Hood. Like, why would he be excited to go play in Cleveland after what's happened? And why would he put in the effort that Isaiah Thomas and Jay Crowder didn't? I was just questionable whether they would come in and buy in all the way. And George Hill, too. You know, a veteran. Why would he want to go there? Other than the fact that he gets to compete for a championship. Yeah. I was glad to see that they seemed like they bought in instantly. And they wanted to be there, too. I
think with George Hill, he was in Sacramento, a bad situation. They were 28th in offensive efficiency and like 29th in defensive efficiency. So I think it just they kind of rejuvenated. They kind of finally clicked in, especially George Hill. He finally clicked in and was like, all right, I'm finally on a team that actually cares about winning and cares about playing. So I'll finally start putting in my effort. And I think you saw it all throughout the board. You saw some of the new guys. Clarkson had 17. Hood had 15, but looked awesome. I think he's going to be a really good player for the Cavaliers. And even if LeBron goes, I think it's someone you still can build around.
Yeah.
Not as like the number one guy, but definitely with him and someone else, you could do it.
Hey, I think they got that guy. They got him. And this is my other thing I want to talk about. Cedi Osman. He is so fun to watch. Mm-hmm. He just seems so happy to play basketball. And even the game before they got their new guys.
The Hawks game.
He was like the highlight of that game to me. Just because you can see he loves playing basketball. Mm-hmm. And he seemed like he was completely unaffected and unfazed by what had happened in Cleveland so far. And he played like that, and it showed because he's played really well. Yeah. And he wasn't necessarily stellar yesterday in that game. Mm-hmm. He was decent, but he still was like, this kid's a rookie playing with LeBron James, and he's happy, and he's actually playing well, which doesn't happen very often with LeBron James. Yeah. So I love that kid. He's great. Yeah, keep letting him play.
I just think it just goes to show you that like how toxic and how much toxicity was in that Cavaliers locker room, Cavaliers management, everywhere in Cleveland was toxicity. And thanks to getting rid of guys like that, like I think a lot of people talked about addition by subtraction, that helped them out tremendously. They got rid of 6 Batmans and toxic players out of their locker room, out of their system, to bringing in guys that will buy into your system and don't demand as much because they know that LeBron is the best player. Yeah. Compared to a guy like Isaiah Thomas, and I don't want to really pick on him, it's just the fact that he he said, you know what? I scored 30 points a game. I'm like on equal level with LeBron, even though I'm a little bit shorter. It's like, I just think that now the Cavaliers are in a great position. They're in a great area to be in right now in the East. I think this kind of puts them back in line to be the favorites. I mean, we'll have to wait and see with other games because I think they play the Thunder next, which will be a really good game to watch.
That'll be interesting.
And we'll just have to see what goes on from the Cavaliers here. Will they beat the Warriors? The Warriors are looking a little bit slow and lethargic right now. They look mentally out of it.
They do.
But, I mean, it's the Warriors. You can never count them out, and we'll see where it goes on from here.
Yeah, they look decent in that Spurs game, but I do agree with you. There's a lot to be seen from the Warriors, and look at them like a weak spot right now, or they're having a weak moment. Let's move on out of the Cleveland-Boston game. It was a good game. What'd you think about Paul Pierce's retirement ceremony? You're a big Boston Celtics fan.
It was good. It was great to see him get the retirement. The only thing I wish is that Ray Allen was there, but there's some bad blood. He said he went golfing instead with George Lopez.
With George Lopez?
Yeah, apparently they're friends. But it just kind of sucks to see that Ray Allen couldn't be there. I understand there's some bad blood and animosity there because Ray Allen decided to go to Miami instead of stay in Boston. But, you can't fault him for it. But, it just sucks to see that he wasn't there to see one of his good friends or teammates, like really good teammates, and they won a championship together. The original Big Three. It just kind of sucks that he wasn't there. But for Paul Pierce himself, I think it was a great thing for him.
I mean, the way they kind of like ostracized him after he left, I don't blame him at all for not going.
Yeah.
So for all these people, like I saw like Stephen A. Smith was like, what a bad move. Like you're a bad friend not to show up. They treated him like garbage after he left, you know? So why would he show up is my point. And he seems like kind of a weird dude in general. Ray Allen, that is. Like he had like the whole Twitter thing. Did you see that?
Yeah.
He seems like an interesting dude. But he had no reason to show up. I did like what they did for Paul Pierce, though. It was a nice, touching moment, and to see those guys there was cool.
Yeah. The one thing I'll question is I don't know if you saw Kevin Garnett's hoodie. I don't know how it stayed on his ear. He had it like on one side.
I did see that. It's interesting. He's got like wax on his head or something.
He's got like one of those. He's like duct taped the hook. Like a little hook.
Oh, I like that.
I don't know. Something happened there, but I don't know what it was.
It didn't look possible. It looked for that to stay up there.
Hey, but like Garnett said, anything's possible.
Anything is possible.